like to call the City of Dallas's work session to order for Monday, April 1st, 2024. And the secretary, please call a roll.
Council President Schilling.
Here.
Councilor Adams.
Here.
Councilor Barrientos.
Here.
Councilor Briggs.
Here.
Councilor Collins.
Present.
Councilor Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilor Jantz.
Here.
Councilor Shane.
Here.
Councilor Verdon.
Here.
Thank you. First thing on the agenda is city social media use.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. I want to invite Allison Roberson, our communications specialist, to come up and give us a presentation on this topic. In addition, there was also a recent Supreme Court ruling, and our City Attorney Lane Shetterly will walk us through that as well. And Allison, can you turn on that microphone there in the front? You have to hold it down for a second. There you go.
Now it's on.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, all. Most of you know me, but if not, introduce me. I'm Allison, the communications specialist for the city here. I just want to give a short presentation about social media, how we use social media, and also the limitations that come along with social media, specifically for government accounts. So, the City of Dallas primarily uses Facebook and YouTube. I also plan on rolling out our LinkedIn, Instagram, and Nextdoor accounts this summer to expand to different demographics, but currently we focus on Facebook, and so that's what I'm going to focus on for this presentation. We use Facebook to communicate with the public, advertise community events, share department updates, put out safety updates such as road closures, power outages, emergency alert information, public service announcements, city council meetings, our newsletter, and other general city announcements. So all government agencies must be able to communicate with the public, and today the public expects agencies to have an online presence as well. So most government agencies maintain a website and also have one or more social media accounts. However, the use of social media by an agency brings with it significant record-keeping challenges that must be undertaken deliberately to ensure that all legal obligations are met. So that is our public record laws that we have. So any post that is made on an official city account being used to distribute information for the city is considered public record. So I want to get into our no comment policy here. So the City of Dallas has a no comment policy on all of our social media accounts. So that's the public library, the City of Dallas, the Aquatic Center, the police department, and fire and EMS. So all of those accounts have all of their comments turned off. Because any post made on an official city account being used to distribute information for the city is considered public record, we cannot delete or block certain commenters or accounts. So the city has opted to disable all comments altogether, making it simple across the board and easy for all to understand. This comes along with some more limitations in our analytics and also being able to host events on Facebook. So if you go on Facebook, you can kind of look at just Polk County events and you can see what's going on, and you will never see any city events like that pop up because we are unable to turn off comments for event posts. So that is why you will never really see an event for the city posted by our account. So Dallas has many community pages on Facebook. These community pages are great places to host or to promote, advertise, and educate community members on the happenings in Dallas, and are often the places that the public turns for information. Unfortunately, because we're the city, a lot of community pages don't accept us into their groups, or it's difficult to get into the groups. So when we do make posts to community pages that do accept us, we have to make sure to turn off our comments. So that means that I have to monitor our Facebook account for that notification saying that we've been accepted to post in a community page, and go and quickly turn off the comments, because you can't make that setting prior to posting in a community page. Another limitation is boosted posts. So boosted posts are ads that you create from existing posts on your Facebook page. They can help generate more messages, videos, leads, calls, general interactions, and increase your page's performance. And you also might reach new people who are interested in your page but don't yet follow you. Because of Facebook's rules and regulations that they have, government pages are not allowed to boost their posts, and that goes for community events, unfortunately, as well. So that's just another limitation that we have. Being a government page comes a lot of limitations. So the Facebook algorithm. So when you're logged into Facebook, each post you see is based on an algorithm. The algorithm takes into consideration a relevant score, engagement, and time. So the relevant score is how relevant a post is to the user's past interactions with similar content. Engagement is posts with higher engagement, so likes, comments, shares are more likely to appear on a user's newsfeed. And then time, most recent posts get priority on your newsfeed. Research suggests that you should post once a day, with the optimum times being 1 to 4 on weekdays and 1 to 2 on weekends, but it depends on your audience that you are trying to reach. I try and post 3 to 4 times a week, between 1 to 4, as our analytics have shown this to be the best time. And posting consistently is key to keep your followers engaged and your performance high, but overloading your followers can make you lose followers as well. So it's kind of a nice balance that you have to keep. I often hear, I didn't see on Facebook XYZ, or why don't your posts show up on my feed, things like that. And that is because of the Facebook algorithm. If you do not regularly interact with our posts, the engagement and the relevance score is going to lower. So you're not going to be seeing our posts as often on your page, even if you are following us. So that is why it's really important to just click on a link, watch a video, hover over our posts, even for a couple seconds. That tells the Facebook algorithm that you want to see more of our content. The algorithm also applies to Facebook groups and community pages. So those pages that I was talking about earlier. When you view a community page, the posts that you see at the top have the most interaction, meaning the most likes, shares, comments, and views. And because we have our no comment policy, oftentimes our posts will go way to the bottom on those community pages. So when you go to those community pages as a community member, or any of our staff, or any of you, a lot of our posts will be at the bottom, buried down underneath a lot of the posts that have higher engagement numbers. So more comments, more clicks, more views, just because we have to turn ours off. I quickly want to talk about our top performing posts, because you can kind of see how Facebook's algorithm works in real life on our account. So you can see we have our highest reach on a post and our highest reactions on a post, and those are both the same posts. And then our highest comments on a post.
Question about that.
Yes.
How can there be comments if we don't allow comments?
Exactly. I will talk about that in a second once
Please
I get to
do.
that slide, yes. So this post right here is about the Japanese garden, and it had 360 likes and 16 shares. We had a higher engagement on this post because we had a higher number of shares than we typically do. So each time that gets shared, people will go to our post and hit like or engage with that. So that's why it was our highest engagement and our likes. And then to your point here, how we had this to be our highest comment. So this post was from January 17th about the rescheduled council meeting. So we had, I think it was 24, is that what that says? 24 shares on this post. So each time that gets shared, people will comment on that shared post, and that goes towards our analytics on this, and on the back end.
Oh, so if they comment not on the one we posted, but on the
Correct.
shared copy that's somewhere else, that
Correct.
counts as a comment?
Yes, on the back end for analytics, yes. Yeah, because that's people interacting with that post.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that just kind of highlights the importance of sharing with a post, or interacting with the post, clicking on links, liking a post, or even hovering over it for a couple seconds. It just tells the algorithm and also boosts our analytics to make it appear on people's news feeds more often.
So if I can just add to that, that's when someone comments on a shared post, that share is not a public record, right? Because that's not the city putting that out. So those comments are not stuff that the city has to track or maintain. But like Allison said, the value in sharing things that the city puts out is where you start to see more activity on the posts that we have. The city of Dallas has intentionally kind of set up Facebook similar to a website, right, where it's one-way communication out. If you want to, as a receiver, a consumer of information, you want to know about what's going on with the city, you need to start following the Facebook page that you're interested in that the city provides. Because when you are a follower, then that information does hit your news feed. But just a member of the public that's not a subscriber to one of the city's Facebook accounts likely is not going to see the information that the city puts out unless it's been shared by a common connection through that social media platform that they have.
Yeah, like the community pages that people often that we are interacting fully.
On your boosted post slide, I don't know what page it is for you, that one?
Yep.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit about that giant spike?
That giant spike was from this post right here.
Japanese gardens.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And I've noticed recently, in the past couple months, I've made posts about community spaces. So that's like our parks, our trails, even our roads. Those always get higher engagement from the public because it affects them directly. So I've been making more posts about public spaces like this to increase our engagement. So hopefully those posts like this one that don't get as many likes will then show up on people's feeds more because those other ones they're interacting with more. Yeah.
So I shared a lot of these posts on a lot of pages. So would it be better for me to turn off commenting since I'm a city councilor, or just leave it and let people comment? I don't respond to the comments, but
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second when Lane shares his part of this presentation. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great question.
I'd prefer for them to be on, but I don't know what the yes. So yeah. Is that all? Yeah.
Excellent.
But taking what you're saying, it is still best for us as city councilors and everybody that's in our audience to like and share.
Yes, correct.
And that's how we can boost,
Awareness.
wrong word, awareness of our Facebook pages.
Correct.
And that's really what we're trying to take away from this today, correct?
Correct, yes. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, even just hovering over the post for a few seconds, like I mentioned, or just watching the video or clicking on the links, like that will also increase our engagement and the awareness of the post.
And on top of that, since I don't have Facebook, my wife has Facebook, sharing with other people you know in the community, why they're not seeing it. It was an eye-opener to me when I had no clue about this. When Brian shared with me about this and asked if we should have Allison, I go, yeah, we should have Allison here, because it's an eye-opener to me as far as why we don't see those posts.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Alice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Sheriff.
All right, well, that was good and clear information, and I will muddy the water.
That's your job, right?
That's my job.
Here we go.
Well, we had a Supreme Court decision here just this last month in a case called Lindsay versus Freed. And very briefly, the circumstances around that were Mr. Freed was the appointed acting city manager of a city in California, I forget, doesn't matter.
Oh, this is the United States Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, yes, sorry, yes, the United States Supreme Court. And upon his appointment, used his Facebook site account to announce that to let people know that he'd been appointed, to share information about the city, and it communicated some particular COVID-19 strategies that the city had employed. Mr. Lindkey commented or responded to this post because Mr. Freed allowed comments on his Facebook and made comments that were derogatory of Mr. Freed and the city all about COVID-19. So Mr. Freed blocked Mr. Lindkey, and Lindkey sued for violation of First Amendment that Freed was an employee of the city and he was posting information about the city and issuing directives based on actions the city had taken. And that, as we know, once you open a forum for public comment, you can't discriminate on the basis of content among the people who respond to it. And that was a question that went up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, answered the question, but in a way that really is hard for you all to interpret or apply. What the Supreme Court said, basically, they found for the plaintiff, Mr. Lindkey, and against the city manager, and said, in fact, the city manager's use of his Facebook page in this instance amounted to public communication, and he was then found liable to have violated Mr. Lindkey's First Amendment rights when he excluded him based on his comments on the post. And this is a unanimous opinion by the court, and the holding is that a public official who prevents someone from commenting on the official's social media page could, there's the word, potentially be liable for a free speech violation. And this applies to the mayor, city council, city manager, any other city employees. But the test that the court announced that makes it unclear for all of you is this. Now, first of all, on your official, we don't have any comment on the city, so I'm really talking here about how you use Facebook and your personal accounts, how you use them to support or communicate city.
Considered official?
Well, that's a fact-based question. And the court didn't address in particular. Here's the test, and you see how this feels about how it applies to you. The test for liability now is whether the public official both, one, possessed actual authority to speak on the city's behalf on a particular matter, and two, purported to exercise that authority when speaking in the relevant social media posts. So how does that apply in the real world? And actually, I want to read from the opinion, just one paragraph that I think the court intended to be helpful. I'm not sure that it really is. So the court says, when social media profiles appear ambiguous regarding whether they're personal or official, a fact-specific inquiry will be required regarding a specific post's content and function when a comment is deleted. So it's really hard to announce a general rule here that applies to all posts. And here are some examples. This is quoting from the opinion. In some circumstances, the post's content and function might make the plaintiff's argument a slam dunk. I haven't seen that in the Supreme Court before, but there we are. Take the mayor who makes the following announcement exclusively on his Facebook page. Pursuant to Municipal Ordinance 22.1, I am temporarily suspending enforcement of alternate side parking rules. Not something the mayor has the authority to do in Dallas, but there's the email, there's the Facebook post. The post's express invocation of state authority, city authority, its immediate legal effect, and the fact that the order is not available anywhere else make clear that the mayor is purporting to discharge an official duty. Okay, that's pretty clear.
This is very fuzzy.
If, by contrast, the announcement on the city's webpage, the mayor merely repeats or shares otherwise available information, for example, by linking to the parking announcement on the city's webpage, it is far less likely that he is purporting to exercise the power of his office. Instead, it is much more likely that he is engaging in private speech, quoting her from another case, related to his public employment or concerning information learned during that employment. So, if you are sharing links to city websites or Facebook pages, I think that falls under the far less likely that you're gonna be found to be acting on behalf of the city. And so that's probably okay.
It's probably.
I'm saying that's probably okay. Which means, so what that really means is you share links to city Facebook posts. If you allow comments on your Facebook, then you receive comments and you decide somebody is being rude or abusive, and you're going to block them. Thank you. It's probably okay. If you're not creating the content, if you're not issuing a directive, in your capacity as a city councilor, and it's hard to imagine when you would do that, because as a city councilor, you don't have the authority to speak for the city. You speak for yourself as a city council. So until we get a few more cases here, and there will be more cases.
Oh, yeah.
This rule left lots of room to be applied to lots of fact-specific situations. I'm going to say that if all you're doing is reposting city Facebook posts, or, reporting to your followers what happened in a city council meeting, I'm gonna say that's probably okay. Because you're not speaking for the city, you're speaking your own behalf, you're not exercising any authority, you are communicating, and it's much more like the second case where the mayor was just linking to the parking rules, and the court says that's far less likely to be problematic under this holding. The safest course, obviously, is to not allow any comments, but I know that's difficult to do.
The next thing you know, they're gonna think the mayor gets a new car.
Really? You do?
Who's going to tell them that?
Yeah. So anyway, that's the two ends of the bright line with a little middle one in between. If Brian were to, communicate, sometimes, Brian, you enter orders around parking regulations. If you were to say this order is going into effect and you were to post that on your Facebook, you are acting like the mayor in the Linkey versus Freed case, probably. City council members, if what you're doing is forwarding posts that the city has posted, and reporting to your constituent followers what happened at a city council meeting, I'm gonna say that's okay for now, until we get any other cases, and what are the chances of you being the next case that gets tried? But I would say that's probably okay under the holding of the Supreme Court.
And if I understand the logic behind it, so for Brian, it'd be best for him to shut comments off at that point in time.
Well,
As soon as he makes the announcement, just shut off.
I don't, do you, Brian, you use your personal Facebook?
I don't have our personal
There
Facebook
you go.
account, so I'm
Problem solved.
pretty good.
I'm talking about if you're in doubt that
Yeah.
you're might be probably
Sure.
in violation, it covers you to shut it off before comments are made.
Yes, certainly before comments are made, because if you shut it off in response to a comment, then you just invited.
Well, that leads directly to my question. It's like a direct follow-on. If you do that, if let's say Brian announces on his, hypothetically, just Brian announces on his Facebook page that we're temporarily suspending parking regulations because of the parade for some reason, and disallows comments, how is that different from blocking somebody from commenting?
Because you're not discriminating.
Oh, in other words, if it's all or nothing.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Okay. I have one more. Oh, Debbie first.
What? Okay. Or you can ask me offline too.
So the reason I leave comments open when I share these, I don't put my own anything on it. If I just generically share something that is posted and I leave comments on, I think
I think you are.
I just never comment on it. I don't care what they discuss.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care if they're to each other, I mean, I hope
Yeah.
they're not, but it's not, I never get my opinion on any of it.
I
I
would
just say,
say,
hey, here's the information.
yeah, I would say that would fall most likely within what the court says is public. I can't hear you.
So if Brian was to post something like that on his personal Facebook
Right.
page, it would be okay if you turned off commenting?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so that's
yeah.
the commenting is what we're really talking about.
Yes,
It
the
isn't
whole,
sharing
and that's
information.
right, I jumped right into it. Yes, the whole issue here is First Amendment.
Okay,
And as a city, the city can't discriminate between people who we think are polite and we want to support and receive and people who we think are being rude. We can't make a content-based decision to allow or not allow individuals to comment. And so we've turned off the comments, and that's the safest route. You in your individual capacity as council members, if all you're doing is sharing information that you have from posts or from a city council meeting, I am saying that is under the Supreme Court decision, most probably not the official kind of comment or action that will limit your ability to regulate your own commenters.
Whether it's on our personal page or like when I share it to a different community page.
Yeah,
Okay.
once it goes to a different community page, I think, it also, I think yeah, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So here's my crude attempt to put this in a soundbite. If you're exercising authority, you're on the hook. If you're simply reporting what somebody else did, you're not.
Yeah, again, yeah, and that's where the test that the court stated really doesn't directly address the way you use Facebook. Again, it says, the test is whether the public official, both one, possessed actual authority to speak on the city's behalf, and purported to exercise that authority when speaking in a relevant social media post.
You said this was a unanimous decision?
Yes.
Who wrote it?
Is it specific to Facebook or does it?
You know,
apply
social
to-
media generally. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna get this on the record. So I do have a regular practice of holding a live Facebook, a Facebook Live after almost every session. I do declare, I make a declaration that I don't speak for the city
Yeah.
or for the council.
Yeah.
And then I'm reporting and I urge people to go and to look and watch the entire meeting and or the entire minute. And I do leave comments on. I've never blocked a comment. Kind of as Debbie has said, I hope that people are kind to each other. And for the most part, when people are unkind, there's another neighbor who steps in and sort of puts that unkind person in their place and says, you're being unkind. So I just wanted to put that all on
Yeah.
record because I'm out there a lot
Yeah.
on social media. So I feel very safe that I fall into that second bucket.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, so my question is, when I was right after I was elected, actually, there was a person who I don't think is actually a person, but I don't know, who was not commenting on city business, but being inappropriate. I did block that person. And inappropriate is
Yeah.
a very mild word to what
All
that
right,
person was
all right.
saying.
But still block them from commenting on just the kind of posts you said you posted.
Completely.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, I did not need any more comments about what,
Yeah.
is that something we need to have further conversation about, you and I?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
At least from, this is one case, that said, that it will take more cases to fully,
I do
Develop
have a
the rule.
printout of the numerous interactions with that person. I saved those in case that person ever came forward and said, it's not fair to block me, I can come back and go. And here's why, it had nothing to do with the city, but I'm never going to date you. So, so just wanna get all that
Yeah,
clear.
I would say, based on the rule as it was announced by the court, hasn't been applied to anything except this one situation, I would think that is appropriate.
Life is a lot less complicated when you're off Facebook.
It really is.
Okay, next is the police department's annual update.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Mine may not be quite as riveting as the last with all the legalese, but hopefully you'll find it informative, so we'll get through this. What's that?
The slides.
No. I just hadn't looked yet.
Thank you, Kim.
I would have looked up in a minute and noticed it was different. Alrighty, and away we go. This presentation tonight was, Deputy Chief Jerry Mott was going to join me in this presentation. You'll notice he's not here. He called me Saturday morning and explained that he had COVID, so I asked him to please not be here, so he's not. I'm going to run through this fairly quickly to give time for questions if you need it. I promise you, for the most part, I'm not going to read the slides. I hope you guys all had a chance to read through them yourselves. And after I've just told you I'm not going to read them, I am going to read the first one here, but this is just a summary about our department. We're going to go over the status of staffing, activity, crime statistics, a little bit of an overview on our fleet, some of the challenges we experienced in 2023 and some of our successes, and then a little bit about what's on the horizon for us. So moving forward from there. Our department, our authorized staffing right now, we have 27 members, just as an overview. 4 of them are civilians, 23 sworn officers. And at the end of 2023, we had 3 vacancies, but early this year, we were able to hire 2 more. So right now, actually, we have 1 vacancy in sworn officers left to fill. This is, yeah, you can see it better there. Just a visual of our organization chart. You'll notice on there, we have 2 slots that are not staffed right now. That's the traffic safety officer position and our rotational detective. This is temporary, and the TSO, we're hoping to get that filled, frankly, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, just how long a selection process. We're staffed now that we can do that. Rotational detective, I'm gonna wait until we get everybody hired and everyone in their seat by themselves before we add that position, because I wanna keep patrol fully staffed, so that's where that is here.
Chief, can you go back 1 page?
Sure.
One more. 23 sworn officers?
That's what's authorized.
Oh, authorized.
Yeah,
So on the next
authorized.
page, we have 1 open.
Yeah, we have 1 officer. We have
That's what-
22
okay.
today, but we have 23 authorized. Okay? These next 2 pages here is just an overview for you on the difference between persons and property crimes. Some of you have seen these before, some of you know these, but it's just an idea of what constitutes a person's crime and a property crime. And on the next page here, same thing with what the feds call society crimes. Now, a couple things on there, animal crimes, for example, curfew and mental custody cases. Those aren't crimes, obviously, they're status offenses, but they're included in that society crime block. Now for the good stuff here. This is a 5-year outlook of our activity from 2019 through 2023. You'll notice on there that for 2023, our activities are down from what they have been in the past a bit. Part of that is due to our traffic enforcement is down, and that's counted in those activities. I'll touch a little bit more on that in a few minutes, but also field-initiated contacts, field interviews and things that the officers do also go into counting for those activities. The traffic enforcement numbers are down quite a bit, and you see the trend there where it dropped down for COVID, and it picked up and started dropping off again. What I'm pretty sure is happening here, and I'll touch a little bit more here in a minute that will explain that, but as our staffing was way down, our officers spent a lot more time on, they're short staffed to start with, and we don't have as many people on the road, and The time on behavioral health calls are significantly higher, and I'll go into the weeds on that in just a minute also. But also the officers are spending more time in the office on reports, and it just takes away from the time that they're actually on the road doing discretionary stuff, which is traffic. Now, on occasion, we get complaints from citizens, we get some feedback where we break away and focus on that as best we can, but it's just oftentimes not a situation where you can spend a lot of time on that with everything else going on. Now, the things are changing a little bit as we're getting more officers on the road and getting people solo. We're starting to see our traffic numbers creep up a little bit. And what I did just to double check on this is I went back and looked at February of this year and March of this year for our traffic stats. Significantly up from where they had been, especially on the stops. But if you look at that and average those 2 months and project that out as to what we might see for 2024, that pushes it up a little over 2,000 stops and somewhere in the 400 or 500 range for sites. And that's not counting bringing our TSO back into play. Once we get our traffic safety officer back into place, I think we're going to see those numbers change notably and make a little bit difference overall.
Before you leave that slide, there's one thing that just sort of jumps out at me. And Mike, I guess my question is going to be, do you have an explanation for this, or do you think it's just a statistical fluctuation? From 2021 to 2023, the number of injury crashes is almost half what it was. That's quite a difference. Just a fluctuation?
It just changes, yeah. You know, we don't have a significant traffic crash problem here.
Well, no, not with only 14 in a year, no.
But it just varies on the traffic load, it really does.
Okay. Just wondered.
Right. Moving on next to our Criminal Justice Commission stop data. We've reported that in previous years, that they reported on a fiscal year and what we got in June of 2023. This shows the total stops and the breakdown based on different ethnicities of what they're tracking. As you move forward, just a little bit of information there, kind of a simple comparison. If we averaged it out and kind of did the even distribution method on 22 of our officers, that shows that each officer would have stopped approximately this number of people. What's most important about the data from the CJC, this one here just kind of shows that Oregon doesn't put the race on the driver's license, so it makes it difficult for officers to know. If it's not obvious, they typically don't want to ask, because sometimes that will offend people. And if we don't have the data, we can't report it to CJC. So if Oregon would do like some states and put race on a DL, that would be helpful, but until then. Most important on this is that Dallas PD was not identified by CJC as an agency evidencing any kind of desperate treatment between any persons of any group. So that's good information for us, and that's where we like to stay. On the bottom there's a link to the CJC's site that has the full report. If you guys are interested in reading that, that's available in there. Clearance rates. These next two charts here are going to show a breakdown of our most significant persons crimes. And the next one will cover some property crimes. But what's interesting about it is for robbery, aggravated assault, and rape, the ones that they tracked, our clearance rates are better, if not significantly better, than the statewide average. Yes, sir.
Can you define what a clearance rate is?
In other words, if your house is burglarized and we find who did it, we clear it by arresting them, or there's other ways we can clear it, but that's generally it. If we leave it as a whodunit, we never figure it out, that case is not cleared.
Okay.
So by
Basically
clearance,
unsolved.
yes, yeah. Basically, the clearance is resolving the matter however we can. If you look at the same thing on a property crime here, burglary, theft, vehicle theft, again, we're either above or significantly above the statewide average. And what we like to say is it's unfortunate if anyone's a crime victim, but Dallas is arguably not a bad place to be if you're going to be a crime victim, because we typically get things resolved and we work hard to take care of our community members in that way. Now, a little bit on our fleet update. I haven't done this in the past. I just want to give you guys an idea of what vehicles we have where and the age and the mileage of them. The first two digits on the vehicle number there, that's just simply the year model of the vehicle. And really things are getting better right now. We're gradually getting things back to where we should be. moved most of the vehicle with the highest mileage off of patrol into other areas, so that's good. The patrol are the ones that are gonna have the most likelihood of a high-speed pursuit or something like that, so we wanna keep the best vehicles there where we can. You'll note on there, on the, next to the bottom, 1260, that one there has nearly 85,000 miles on it, but that has engine has been replaced, and it's in pretty good shape, so. The last one there with over 108,000, we keep that one as a backup and use it when we need to. But it's getting old. That's the one that we just had a ice fall off of a barn last winter and took out the car, so we had to get it fixed. Yes, ma'am.
So looking at this, what is it, I mean, if we were forecast, based on this fleet update, and we had to forecast out a few years, what are we looking at for replacement needs?
Well, what we've typically been doing is try to replace one vehicle a year. When we got behind, we tried a couple a year just to get caught up. But these, as we rotate them off patrol, we put them in other areas where we can use them. But if we can continue getting at least a vehicle a year, like right now, this one of the top 2361, I'll touch on that again here in a few minutes, but it's not even upfitted yet. So that'll be going on to the fleet and being used and make a difference there as well, so.
And supply chain problems are better, we can actually replace.
Yes, they're better, and I'll get to that here in just a minute. They're not great, but they're better. Okay. This is for our criminal investigation section here. Got Sergeant Califf and the 3 detectives in there, and that's what they are currently driving. But again, the mileage is a little high on these, but they don't get out there doing high-speed pursuits, so I'm not as concerned about those. Under administration side, mine, the deputy chief, admin sergeant, the vehicle we have for travel and training, and a old pickup we have for stuff. And our SRO, which, because he falls under our admin sergeant, the mileage is high, but again, that one's had the engine replaced in it. It's in pretty good condition. So we're doing okay with that. And mine, frankly, the mileage is high, but I don't get out and get in pursuits anymore, so we're doing okay there. Talk a little bit about now some of our successes. We've hired 5 new employees in 2023. We have trained to solo status 4 of our recruits. Nice. And purchased an all-weather drone with some donated funds, which has enhanced our drone capabilities. We can now take it out in rain, and we couldn't in the past. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is that 5 net add, or did we lose any last year?
No, that's an ad.
It's an addition of 5. Right.
But it's nice to be able to have a drone out in the rain, because sometimes it rains a lot here and you just can't always plan on that.
What's the number one use you put the drone to?
The drone?
Yeah, what's the number one thing it's used for?
Well, it varies. Sometimes search and rescue, trying to help find somebody that's missing, because we've got infrared capability on it. We helped Polk County here several weeks ago. They had somebody that was running from them from a pursuit and was out in the bushes. It was night. And we had a Marion County dog team over, and they were trying to track him. And we actually had our drone up with an image guiding the dogs into the guy. So it worked out well. Yes, sir.
Can I just add to Larry's question? Does that 5 include any civilians, or was that all officers?
The 5 were all officers.
All officers.
No, I take that back. Hang on. Let me double check here. Did I include her in it? No, that wasn't all officers. The 5 included Shelley Bridges and Callista Kiner filling up our records section. So that was a combination. We only had 1, 2, 3 officers in that batch. And then 2 officers right at the first of this year. Okay. Also for successes, we assigned our administrative sergeant to pick up a lot of our admin tasks that Jerry and I had been sharing, including the state accreditation process, which is really important. He's been spending a lot of time on that, and I've got a little bit more of an update on that here momentarily, which is good news. And just like I said, we re-engaged with the accreditation process. We had picked it up a couple years back, and then the officers were working on it left, and we had to drop it for a while till we got somebody back up to speed. But we're currently going through a self-assessment stage with the Accreditation Alliance, and right now we're scheduled for an on-site assessment, kind of our final check ride, if you will, at the end of April, first part of May.
What's the practical value of accreditation? Is it lower insurance rates, access to grants? What does that actually buy us?
There are times that being an accredited agency will give you insurance reductions, and it just kind of depends from time to time. But the biggest thing is if an agency is accredited, and that basically says that we've got our policies in place, we've got the right things, and we do things the right way. It's reportedly helps with litigation too. if somebody has decided they're gonna try to challenge us for something and they see that we're an accredited agency, they know there's certain things that we do and we do the right way, and they may not pursue that. But really, it's a way also, I think, to tell the community that your department's doing things the right way, and it's something we've been trying to do for a number of years.
Oh, yeah, the
Just-
PR value is self-evident. I
just-
wondered what the tangible results were.
You know, there's probably some monetary benefits there, but I think overall, just the ability to make sure everyone knows you're doing things the right way. And there's a lot of benefit in that. You notice on here also, called it Northwest Accreditation Alliance. It used to be the Oregon Accreditation Alliance, and it's the same organization. We've reached out now and started including Alaska, so they just recently changed the name just to make it sound a little more like what it is. So anyway, we've got our final checkout scheduled for the first part of May, so we're hoping to have an accreditation soon thereafter. Another success we had, we got our Chiefs Advisory Panel up and running. Briefed on that a little earlier at one of the Public Safety Committee meetings. The first CAP meeting was in June of '23. We meet quarterly. We've got 5 business and community members, and they have staggered 2- and 3-year terms. Basically, they advise me on topics of concern for the community maybe. They serve as a communication conduit, and we encourage them to reach out and get some community input for us. And really, it's an avenue to help build trust with someone that's sort of independent from the department that way. Panel members, I think likely you know most, so I won't go into the great details of them, but they're great community champions and complement my role quite a bit. But it's Michael Bowman, Jason Thornton, Russ Hilsinger, Nancy Adams, and Don Anderson. So if you run across any of these folks, please thank them for their support. Thank you, Councilor Adams.
Why are there different terms, 2-year and 3-year terms?
I'm sorry?
Why are there different terms?
I just want them staggered so we don't end up having a whole new crew. Just kind of create some continuity there from time to time. Let's see. Moving on, challenges. Staffing continues to be a challenge, although it's improving. Like I said, we're trying to fill one right now. Fleet shortages, it's slowly improving. We're still waiting a long time for equipment from our outfitters. Just to give you an idea, we're getting the vehicles a little bit more timely now, but we got a 23 Dodge in October this past fall. It's not built yet. Our outfitter this morning told us they were waiting for one more major component, the light bar, and hope to have it to where they can get it in and start building it end of April, early May. So that's still a challenge because now that everyone can get cars, our outfitter is just bombarded, and trying to get parts is a challenge for them. More challenges. I promised you a little bit more detail on the UHP earlier when we talked about behavioral health. Those calls are continuing to increase, and just tracking it back, they're very, very time consuming because you never know what you're going to have to do or what kind of help you're going to have to get somebody, and it's hard to predict. But if you look back from 2017, when I first started tracking this, we've had a 674% increase on those type of calls. From last year alone, they're up 48%. Now, again, these are really time-consuming calls. It's not unlawful to be homeless, and sometimes trespass or theft may come into play, but it's really seldom that we need to charge somebody with trespass. If a situation like that comes up, we get asked and we get them to move on, and most of the time they comply. But it's not a police issue really, that it impacts our services because it's a daggone time consuming. On the horizon, last topic to cover here, just some significant progress of the effort toward a new police facility, and I'll tell you, the staff appreciates what you guys have done so far, so they're excited about that. We have a plan to reinstate our traffic safety officer, like I mentioned earlier. I'm hoping to have this in place within 2 to 3 weeks. It just depends on how things go, but you'll be able to see that person. You'll have a Monday through Friday job of being out there and focusing on traffic safety concerns as we get them in. Instead of you get a call, you go to answer somebody's concern, and then you have to leave on a call and you don't get time to deal with the traffic problem. So this will help. Another thing we're really looking for is our state accreditation board, again, hopefully this summer, and gradually filling those vacancies. We're trying to get to be a fully staffed agency here, and we've got one remaining, and we're working on it. Rotational detective, we'll get that assigned as we get everyone hired and everyone solo. So I've got an officer who just started the academy just now, and he's got about 16 weeks over there. and another 15, 16 weeks of field training, so it'll be about 8 months before he's solo. So it'll be close to another year before we get that rotational detective assigned. Working with our SRO to put together a cadet program, and I'll be probably bringing some more details with that to our Public Safety Committee in the not too distant future. Jim Welsh, our SRO, is very experienced. He's had experience with this from Salem. This is something I wanted to do for a number of years and just didn't have the person or the personnel to make it work. He's very interested, and we're actually got a meeting this Thursday to go over some of the details and try to get it started.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
Do you know, will you or he have talked to Mount Angel? Because putting it on a small town scale, their cadet program has been fantastic.
He's
for
talked to
years.
some. I don't remember who all he's talked to yet. I'm actually getting briefed on that Thursday.
Okay.
But yeah, and been working closely with the school on it. He's going to be providing some instructions to a couple of classes for their CTE program. And he's working also where we're probably going to be able to get the students some school credit for participating in our program if we can get it up and running. So we're looking forward to that. And finally, last thing here, just a little bit of projected staff turnover. We got one patrol sergeant that may be retiring at the end of this year. I'm leaving June 25, so I got about 15 months left. And then Deputy Chief Mott and Sergeant Caleb are both eligible to retire and contemplating that in March of 27, so about a year and a half after I leave. So the next 1 to 3 years is some potentially exciting times and a lot of management staff shuffling around, so it shan't be boring. So questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Carlos?
Yeah, I have 3 questions that all pertain to controlled substance. So one, can you give us a brief synopsis, maybe a 30-second version explanation of House Bill 110 and how that affects the Dallas Police Department right now? And also, is there any projection for interagency narcotic team to come back at Polk County interagency narcotic?
As far as the last question there, I heard that mentioned just once as things get back to something more normal. But we've got a meeting with the sheriff here in, well, it was supposed to be scheduled here in a week or so, but he was having troubles getting the schedules coordinated. But on the fix for Measure 110, 4002 being the ability to recriminalize stuff with some different levels, creating a new type of unclassified misdemeanor that unclassified violation that treats it as a crime. So we'll be able to actually start charging people with this. There's some other pieces in play to try that each individual county can look at to provide some programs, kind of like a diversion, if you will. But each county is looking at it in their own way, and that's part of what those meetings are for. And there's actually another briefing I've got coming up here in about 2 weeks, I believe, talking about some statewide recommendations on what could be done. And really, we need to look more at the local level and see what works for us, because Marion County may have something that works great over there, but it really may not apply in our area. So it's a positive change. This measure was something that the Sheriff's Association and the Chiefs Association collaborated with to try to get this through and fix the mess that Measure 110 made for all of us. And frankly, Measure 110 killed a lot of drug teams around the state because there was just no way to function. And we had ours in place, for example, since June of 1989. So there's some brief discussions about once we get this in place and see how it's going to work, then maybe we can bring a drug team back if it makes sense. And matter of fact, Lane and I are going to meet with Deputy Chief Mott here in the near future to kind of talk about how we might implement it here. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the governor signed the bill, I think it was today. The changes to Measure 110 take effect in September. So we've got that much time to plan. It does create a new misdemeanor. And this off-ramp that is optional to counties. And we don't know what Polk County is gonna do at this point.
They don't either.
Yeah, so I'm glad we have until September to get this figured out.
Sounds like we're gonna be looking at some ordinances somewhere along the way.
Well, we may repeal our ordinance because the police have the authority to cite under state law. We don't need an ordinance if the state, in fact, our ordinance would have to mirror state law anyway. Now that the state has defined what the parameters are. So we may end up just repealing our ordinance, now the state has recriminalized and on the terms that they have.
But there's gonna be probably some legislative activity here.
We need to take a break.
Lane, can you switch mics and shut yours off? And just grab Larry's mic?
Yeah, well, okay, I'm done talking.
Okay?
Anyway, we can have, once Lane and I, once we get together and have some discussions, we can bring this to public safety and kind of update once we know more about it.